Well, hello, and we are back. Yes, Day Ticket Travels Spring Edition. The last time we were out, it was freezing cold, but the weather's a bit better now, isn't it? Sun's out.
Don't. Last time we was out was, these were blue.
Grim, blue, absolutely grim. And we've come up north, and it's a long way up north for me and you, isn't it?
I needed a passport to get here. I swear to God, I needed a passport.
We're up at the fantastic Embryo Norton Disney Complex now. It's due to open very, very soon. I've heard a lot about it. This is the first time I've seen it. Got to say, I'm very impressed so far. It's lovely, isn't it?
It's enormous, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's like a maze, mate, getting around here. But yeah, it's beautiful. It is beautiful.
A lot of lakes here now. I've literally just arrived up here this morning. You got up last night, mate?
Got up last night. Didn't start fishing until this morning because it was dark when we actually got to park there. Threw a bucket of pelleting this morning. I've had half a dozen fish. So it was like a 2-hour manic spell of mid-doubles. They're all lovely carp, mate.
Yeah, yeah.
We're hoping, obviously look at it now, high and bright, and it maybe this evening. If not, I think tomorrow morning we'll have the same spell, mate. So yeah, really nice. And these fights so hard for mid-doubles, mate. On it, but they've got the depth.
They're deep lake, isn't it? Goes down to about 30 foot there, so it's going to be a really, really interesting challenge. Fishing deep water, fishing somewhere that neither of us have seen before. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one, this one for sure.
Let's get on with it, have it.
There's a fish.
I want that one. I don't want that one on that one. Turner's Lake on the Embryo complex of lakes. Never seen the place before. Got here yesterday. It was dark when we actually drew up behind the peg, so we didn't fish. First light I was up and throwing a float around, a marker float around, which I don't usually do, but I've been told that this is a very deep lake. Out in front of me, anything from 40 to 50 yards, we've got 30 foot of water. Because I'm in a little corner here. Over to the far margin, which is an obvious place to fish, I found 8 and then 10, 12 and bumped down to 16s. So I've put them in the 8 to 10 foot area, which is a couple of rod lengths off the far margin. I ran around there this morning whilst the float was in situ and put out literally a whole bucket of the Complex T 8mm pellets. Within an hour, getting bites. Now I had half a dozen fish this morning. Probably a 2-hour spell, and I'm guessing then they're eating it all. Now, again, we've not seen it before. I know there's a lot of fish in here, so it's not going to be very challenging angling, but it's going to be a bit of fun. We'll hopefully get a few bites because we struggled on the last one in the winter when my hands were actually blue. So 6 bites this morning in a short period. The day's gone quiet now, so this evening I'll put another whole bucket there. Hopefully in the morning or throughout the night get a few more fish. So all mid-doubles, fight like tigers, really enjoying it. Rob's tips up, nice bit of a social, and you know, we don't want any challenging fishing on this one. Let's just have a laugh, go through a few bits with you guys, catch a good few carp. With the sun getting higher in the sky and the action having slowed, I decided to take the opportunity to bring in all the rods, put fresh hook baits on and make sure they're presented in the best possible way up against the slope. As I watched out across the water, more and more fish seemed to be patrolling up and down the bank, and with my freshly presented hit and runs right on the patrol path, I just knew it had to be a matter of time. angry little common. First fish, I put a tin of maize out over the far margin and just put one of the rods on that with a little yellow hit and run. And that's the first bite over it. Now it is by far the smallest of the day, but it has brought 4 or 5 hours of inactivity to an end. And he is angry, look at that fin up. Oh, where's your big brothers and sisters? But most welcome, end of a dull period.
Right then, rods, 2 of them out of 3 are now out. So when I got here, Ian's already in next door. He's had a couple of bites off that far margin over there and there's fish showing on there, but I don't have that tree line margin in front of me. I've got a nice bit of open water. There is a bit of a margin on the left hand side that I'm hopeful there may be a fish or 2 on later on, but basically my half the peg is that open water bit out there. Now, we've been told it's quite deep, down to 30 foot in places, so the first thing that I wanted to do was just get a marker float out, find out, one, how deep it is. Because obviously at this time of year, a lot of the time the fish are going to be up in the shallower water rather than in the deeper water, and if it's 30 foot, I don't want to be down on the deck down there. So I'm looking for something that is a reasonable depth to fishing. Now, at this time of year, a lot of the time it can be the shallower the better. We're just starting to get that turnover. There's lots of weed on the bottom, all the dead stuff that's been dying through the course of the winter, all that is starting to lift up. And if you look in the edges, a lot of the time on lakes now, you'll see stuff coming to the surface. You don't want to be fishing in that, where that gas, the methane, is expanding and coming out. You really don't want to be in there. And sometimes that's happening in the margins. So you don't want to be too shallow at the moment, but equally, you don't want to be too deep. So I'm trying to find that middle ground. Marker float's gone out, and I've had a quick flick around and I'm finding 15 feet more or less everywhere apart from one hump in line with like a little metal container over there. 19 wraps exactly to the top of it, and it's 11 foot, which I think is a really, really good depth. I can stick a zig on top of it if I need to, so I'm going, I can come up a bit closer to the surface. However, I want to get these fish down on the deck if at all possible. And an 11 foot hump in 15 foot of water is a pretty good spot at this time of year, I think. If there's fish going to show around here, then I would think that they should drop down to that depth. So I've taken a reasonable amount of time to find that spot as well. I think the art of the marker float is lost these days. A lot of people talk about wraps, a lot of people talk about depth, but you don't necessarily know what the spot's like unless you're feeling it down and getting that marker float coming back up and feeling exactly how deep it is. So I know how the hump is now. I took ages just plotting it. There's no fish there at the moment, so now's the time, or earlier this afternoon there was nothing there. They're all over there. I think they're going to move over at some stage, or fingers crossed they will. So really loads and loads of casts, just feeling it coming back over the top. When I cast out with a float, I feel it down, and you'll notice I sort of hit the clip and then I follow it through a little bit with a rod, and then I'm feeling for that donk, that crack down. And as soon as it's donked and cracked down, then what I do is I give it a little skip, just skip it back up, hop it back up a little bit and drop it back down from sort of that high. In my head, the lead's coming back about a foot, and I just donk it back down again just to feel double sure that it's not just one spot it's landed on, but it is an area. So float comes up, found this nice little spot, and then it's a case of getting the rod on the top. Now, with a marker float, obviously it's going down on braid, and you can feel a lot more on braid than you can on nylon, but I'm casting out by eye. So I'm trying to put it just behind the float. I know from previous experience I'm adding probably a foot for every 5 foot. So if it's 11 foot there, I'm casting 2 to 3 foot behind the float, getting a little bit of bounce back, a little bit of spring down, but more importantly, I'm just feeling that lead down. I'm feeling it for the best crack that I possibly can on nylon. So I've got 2 absolutely bang on that spot, and I've spotted over the top of it with basically oily pellets and some boilie in there as well, because these fish are fed on pellets. Hopefully when they come over the top of that spot, they'll see this food down there, they'll go down and they'll graze on it. They're going to be pack fish as well, so there's quite a lot of bait out. I've put probably 3/4 of one of our buckets out, and that's just pellet, bit of oil over the top of it, a few boilies in there, and I'm fishing a Ronnie with a yellow hit and run pop up over it, and I'm fishing what I call a reverse combi rig, so basically a choddy on a supple link, cast out just to the side of that, tram line by the side of each other, probably 4 or 5 foot apart, one on the top, one just to the left hand side and just behind, so the line lays lovely on that hump out there. So if fish come over that hump, you know what, they're going to see me bait because they stand out. I know the bait works, I know these fish are going to like pellets. I reckon that if they go over there, I should be in for a whale of a time, and I reckon I'll get a few bites off that as well.
With the rods finally out for the night and the sun setting, it was time to kick back and enjoy one of Steve's famous barbecues.
Well, that was a splendid barbecue.
You know
the
what,
most
Rob?
important thing.
I will give Mrs. Coe credit where it's due. The kebabs she could supply commercially, and Stephen's skills as a chef, he's obviously learned from his mother.
Yeah, that's a win.
Yeah, that is
Thank
definitely
you, Rob,
with
so
Mrs.
much.
Coe.
Yeah,
We love you. We love
we
you.
do.
So no, great barbecue. You know, great afternoons fishing for yourself and a day's fishing for myself, Rob. So, but unfortunately for you, when you tipped up, it sort of, that was the end of it. It had stopped for the day, hadn't it? Really. So
it's funny how it goes, isn't it? You know, the little bite times that you get.
yeah,
So you've had a splendid morning,
yeah,
and then
mate.
it's just dropped off. I
Nick-
snuck that one out later on this afternoon, just from that tree up
Tiny
there.
little. See, I mean, the way the lake is, we should have had 30 each. But sometimes they drift off you, mate. You know, it's a big lake. It's very deep. No excuses. Had 11 bites. You know, how can that be excuses? And hopefully tomorrow morning will bring a flurry for both of us.
I think one of the things for me is that certain lakes have certain bite times, and we see it from Raysbury as well. First thing in the morning, particularly at this time of year,
Few
is
hours,
absolutely
isn't it?
brilliant. And that morning feeding spell, hopefully they'll come tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
You know,
I think they
traps
will.
are set positive for the night. There's obviously a lot of fish over there, or
Yeah.
they were earlier. Seem to be smallish. Hopefully there'll be one or two big ones
Yeah.
showing at some stage.
Yeah.
Let's talk about baiting approach as well, because a lot of bait has produced a lot of bites.
Well, I've changed on one rod now. I've gone over near the landslide with 20mm complex T boilies
Yeah.
and a 15mm pink hit and run, because all I've had is mid double and down,
Yeah.
and I just hope that might pick up a better one, like in a 20 pounder or something.
Yeah, and that's, you know, the baiting approach has a massive effect on the
Oh my
size
God,
of fish
yeah.
you catch, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Without any shadow of a
Yeah.
doubt. I've only got 2 rods fishing.
You're
I've got
waiting
a
for a
third one, and what I'm doing with that third one, I've got solid bag tied up, and I've been waiting now for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, just to see something show. And you know, there's a lot of bait. I'm tram lining on one spot over there. It's a hump in that slightly deeper water. The risk with that is, of course, either I've put too much bait in if there's just one fish moving around, or alternatively a pack of fish will come in, there'll be small ones again.
Yeah.
So I've got that, just that little chunk of food that if I see one, I'm going to chuck it out
Yeah.
towards that, and if not, I think it'll probably go out on that corner somewhere.
Yeah,
And I
fair
reckon,
play.
you know, that's a similar sort of thing to you with fishing for bites and the potential for a slightly
Yeah,
bigger one.
and you know, gradually switch tactics on one rod, so hopefully
Yeah.
pick up a better fish, like, you know.
See how it goes. So
We'll
that's
see.
it. Dropping dark now. Be nice to see a bit of nighttime action. Be even better if it was first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Good night's sleep.
I think
Wake
so,
up
mate.
first thing.
I won't snore tonight. Mike said I snored last night.
Yes, he will.
I've done so many nights around with clients and Raysby of late. I was overtired,
Yeah.
and I was literally roaring last night. Mike said. So, shame is he's bivvied right at the top tonight. So it'll be you.
Oh, thank you very much.
No, I'm not as tired tonight. But yeah, great day, mate.
That was
and
one.
that was one. And let's see what the dark hours bring. Hopefully nothing, and we'll have them in the morning.
As the last of the light dropped out of the sky, I punched the solid bag across to the left-hand margin.
things are looking up. First light had one about 16, 17 pounds. Felt we should have had more, so I skipped back round there then when the rods were in and put in another whole bucket, which is probably 6 or 7 kilos of 8mm complex T pellet, which is by far my favourite. Real meaty smell to that one, and this one loved it. Not half hour later, low 20 mirror. This one fought, it's so deep here, this water, it fought so hard I was convinced it was a real whopper. But it is a whopper compared to what we've had, so hopefully now this is a sign of things to come. We've got another day and a night, and hopefully a group of these 20s is what's mooching about out there now. Our first mid-double of the day. It's a nice little chunky one. Pink hit and runs over the complex T. And when I put this one back, because you've munched all my pellet, I shall be wandering back round there while the rods are still in and sticking out another whole bucket of 8mm complex T pellets, because they seem to be loving it. I think this is about fish about number 15. Had one fall off in the night, and there you go. So we've had about 15 carp now. Let's hope we get some of the bigger boys moving on the pellet. See how we went, Steve? Well, having seen so many fish out in line with that, what's happened to the landslide on the far bank, leaping about. Now I did mark a floater yesterday and it's 16 foot, and I tried a 12-foot zig out there, but nothing. So I changed this morning. There's so many there. This is a 6 foot. And I did joke to the other cameraman yesterday when I put a black bit of foam out, which we all know gets most bites on zigs, because it actually looks a bit like a bug or something. To be fair, Mike, the other cameraman, said, why don't you put a yellow one on? I'm going to give him credit on that one. And I said, quote, the bugs when they leave the lake bed wear safety helmets, a yellow one. And anyway, I've changed to a yellow one this morning, 6 foot, although we haven't got this in yet because I've got quite a light hook link on it. And we got our first zig bite. 6 foot is the one then, mate. It's got to be that they feed them pellet that gives them all this energy, isn't it? They're just mental, mate. Right, thank you. First one on a zig. Put a 6 footer out. There's so many showing along that side wall. There's got to be a bite to be taken. It's just getting that zone. It's 16 foot deep there. So I had a 12 footer out yesterday, nothing, dropped it lower today. Bang, another low 20. But look at that. For me, that so far is definitely fish of the trip. Scaly banger. This side's a linear as well. I'm made up with that fish, and this fought like it really thought we was going to eat you, wouldn't we? It locked me up off this marginal shelf, which is a bit of a pain. Walked up the bank, got her moving. Look at that. That is an absolute beautiful embryo carp.
It was a quiet night for me on that spot. Nothing at all showed. Didn't hear anything through the course of the night. Got up in the middle of the night, had a little listen. Nothing doing at all. The bag, I threw one for the corner over there. Nothing again. So I was feeling a bit sorry for myself this morning, to be honest. As you do, you know, you set your plot up, you think everything is absolutely bang right, and I was hoping those fish would move over from that side this way, and quite frankly they didn't. So this morning, Mr. Russell, true to form, straight into fish again. There's quite a few over that side, so I've changed one over. He moved on to a zig and picked the bite up pretty quickly. So obviously the thing to do when you know what the fish are doing is just follow suit. So I banged a zig out, chucked it over to where I'd seen a few fish on that right hand side, and it's been out about 20 minutes. As the rain started to pour, it didn't take long before my first Turner's Lake carp was in the bag. So there he is, off the mark. First bite, and it came on a zig. And it's a little bit of opportunist fishing actually, because there were nothing showing direct out in front of me. But this was the result of 20 minutes in the right place with a black and yellow zig. A right dumpy little thing, this one. He's going to be a tank when he's a bit bigger, that's for sure. Mid, upper double I'd say, 17ish pounds. But one of hopefully many to come. After slipping back that dumpy mirror, it was clear that the fish were reluctant to move from the snag tree. So I decided to up sticks and move to a new peg, which gave me more access from the other side. As I set about getting my gear set up and my rods ready, Ian was clearly up to something.
Up to something I was. With the majority of the fish hugging a tree that had recently fallen into the lake, I decided to walk a rig round and hand place it to ensure perfect presentation. After hand dropping the rig in place, just 2 small handfuls of maize and 1 of pellet was all that was needed, and I was confident of a bite. Well, there's a surprise. We're only allowed 1 zig on this place at a time. So my last bite this morning, ironically enough, was on the zig, and I've persevered. We've been doing a few rig bits, and this is just absolutely tore off. I don't like giving fish line, you know, but on these light zigs, you've got no choice. Come on. And these are fighting like they really are manic. But yesterday afternoon I had a small common. Yes, bottom bait yesterday afternoon off the far margin, but it was about this time, mid-afternoon, so all is not lost. But I mean, it's just the type of weather you would expect to get one on the zig and not on the bottom. After about 3 minutes into the fight, it all went solid. And try as I might, it just wouldn't give. And shortly afterwards, the rig gave way. Speaking to Ben, the fishery manager, he said it was likely to be a small route coming through from where the lake had recently been drained. Ever the opportunist, I got the rod straight back out, hoping I wouldn't have to wait too long for another opportunity. A few minutes later, my HD5 gave out a series of bleeps and I was connected to another hard-fighting Turner's Lake carp. This time I was taking no prisoners and was straight to the back of the peg where I could keep steady pressure on the fish and keep it away from diving down. After a short battle, the fish rose from the depths and went into the net first time. With the fish safely secured in the net, I wasted no time getting the zig straight back onto the spot, as there was clearly a few fish about and it looked good for another bite. Being prepared and getting the rod out straight away can be the difference between one and multiple bites when the fish turn up on you. Now there is the culprit of my last zig bite. Lost the one prior to that, got snagged on the bottom out there. We lost about a foot of the hook link. Bear in mind it's a barbless venue, so that'll be spat, but I still don't like to lose them. But we did only lose a foot of hook link. So I did give this a bit of punishment, and in he came. Nice little low double. Now we've been here a couple of days now. I mean, we've worked it out anyway. You know, we just want to catch fish for the camera in different methods. So now it's a zig each, which is all we are allowed, and a couple on the bottom, but on the real shallow shelf. I walked along there earlier, placed a bait in the edge. There's so many fish up and down that shallow bit, it's unbelievable. I can't believe it ain't gone actually. It's been out for a couple of hours. But I'm enjoying getting the odd bite on a zig. Now I know it's 16 foot coming up to 12, so I've changed it. I've got 6 footers out, sorry, a 6 foot zig out there now, my little mate. And it's done me, I think, my 3rd or 4th bite today on a zig. So all on yellow, even though you're not going to believe this, I'm a carp angler and an idiot. So I've just changed the yellow to red, because if it gets a quicker bite or a bigger fish. And there you have it, a lovely little mirror carp, mid-afternoon, blazing hot sunshine, he's going back.
Back in my new peg, I cast a zig just down the shelf to target the fish that were patrolling up and down the margins in the upper layers of the water. For my second rod, I walked down the bank and dropped it on a lovely gravel spot just in front of a freshly fallen tree, and the third rod was cast just down the shelf. Right then, I've moved and we've had a right mixed bag of weather. 1 minute it's chucking it down with rain, the next minute it's almost short weather. and I was over there, just in no man's land, and all the fish, if you have a look down that edge down there, you'll see one Mr. Russell sneaking up and down with a bucket and a shovel, just throwing a bit of bait in the edge. That's where he's been picking them up from, down there. And there seems to be a reasonable number of fish here, so I've moved on this peg now. Little chuck down the margins, out into open water, one on a zig, others just down on the deck around that tree and just down the marginal shelf. And fingers crossed now, that's going to put me in with a chance of catching fish. Just before I moved over there, I did have a bite. Just as it was chucking it down with rain earlier, I thought I was packing up, ready to come over here. Unfortunately, it fell off. These things happen, but I think there's more of a chance of me catching fish here than over there, and like anything, you've got to get on them. It's lovely having a social, but I'm here to try and catch some fish. And to catch fish, this is the area that we need to be. In almost all of Ian's fish, well, actually all of Ian's fish, have come from the area where he is now, just between a post and that tree there. So, game on now. Hopefully, it's going to be evening and into nighttime action. Not a lot happens through the course of the afternoon. I think Ian's had one chance yesterday. He's had one chance today. I'm now in the zone. Fingers crossed, see if we can get a couple of fish out.
You know what? How many times has it said 2 minutes in the right spot? I walked around that side wall while Steve watched the rods, because I've had a bait over in that margin for hours, in clearly the wrong spot. I walked another 5 yards further down the bank and there's a proper gravel clear bit. Oh, I just got to keep this one moving. Proper gravel clear bit. So in all fairness to Stevie, he held the rod and I walked it back round there, literally lowered it in with an handful of maize. I can't believe that was only in there a few minutes. Nice fish, nice fish. Get out from, look at this undercut bank and they're going right under there. That is better. That's fishing, not waiting, okay? When you're sitting behind the rods, we can't help it, it is waiting, but that little walk round there, clocking, there must have been 20 fish in an area the size of a ground sheet. To walk all the way around there, while Steve, to be fair, Steve held the line out of the water, lowered it in amongst them, ample of maize, back here, within 10 minutes, wallop. I do like working for them. It's brilliant. Up he comes. Right, the result of 5 minutes in the right place. I nipped round that side to rebait the other rod I put out earlier. It was all still there, so it wasn't necessary. I walked like 5 or 10 yards further down the bank. There's a bit, probably the size of a ground sheet of gravel just off the edge. With about 20 of these milling round it. So Steve held the rod. I walked all the way around with the line out the water, lowered it in, ample of maize. I'm giving him probably close to 25 pound that fish. He's chunky and heavy. So, like we said, 4 hours on that spot, 5 or 6 minutes on that spot. Well worth the work. Having felt I'd found the winning formula, I was quick to get back round and replace that rig. The beauty of dropping a rig by hand is that I'm able to land on the perfect spot time and time again. After dropping a couple of handfuls of maize over the rig, I had just enough time to walk back round to the peg before the rod was away yet again, and after another hard scrap, I had another scaly Turner's Lake carp.
Back at my peg, it had been a frustrating afternoon, but my luck was about to change. It's been very quiet for me this afternoon, but we're just dropping into evening now. The barbecue is lit on the other side of the lake. Mr. Russell, as always, is playing the carp as we speak at the moment, and we've just had a double take from opposite sides of the lake. He's been catching down the edge. I've finally got my spot working actually. It's taken a while. It's been a bit of a head scratcher because I can wander up into the trees behind, look down on them, and they've been going back and two. But you know, this is my first afternoon stroke evening in this bit, and Ian had the same with his. It was quite through the afternoon, but as soon as it got to evening time, that's when it picked up again, a couple of bites, and then there was a bit of silliness through the night. So this does feel half decent fish actually. And here is my one. Look at that, an absolute corker. Tell you what, he didn't have to put up a scrap and all. This is a good mid 20 pounder. Absolutely fantastic, and I've got to say I'm pretty chuffed to get him. The average size has been reasonable, but this is one of the better ones. And yeah, what a scrap. What an absolute battle this was.
After what had been a fairly productive day, I brought in all 3 rods and cast them back out over the heavily baited area, ready for the night ahead. What is that? Is that a pterodactyl?
That's a pterodactyl peacock.
This is like being in Jurassic Park.
It's lovely up here, I like it.
Well, it's lovely.
I like how wide open it is, and I love the fact there's pine trees everywhere. It feels like I'm at Centre Park.
It's gonna be something fairly special.
Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it? Pretty good indeed.
Fair play to the boys.
Been a good day today, yeah.
Today, do you know what? There is not. I don't think there's a weather front we haven't had today. Isn't it? Well, at lunchtime it was like someone was throwing like 8mm boilies at us, wasn't
Mate,
it?
it's
With
crazy.
the hail.
Shorts, bit of sunburn in the morning.
Steve had shorts on,
Yeah,
wrong colour,
not
but
pleasant.
you know, I'm not
Yeah,
I
not
think he borrowed them. I don't know if Steve's got a sister and he bought her shorts. I'm not sure about that. But onto the fishing.
Yes.
Good day today, mate. Had a few. Mid-20 each.
Yeah,
That's
not
always
bad.
good, mate. At least
Always
we're nicking
nice
a
to
couple
get
of
a
good
decent
ones
one.
now,
Yeah,
like, you know,
absolutely.
rather than the low doubles.
I've got a question for you as well.
It's not about Steve Schultz.
No, it's definitely
No.
not about Steve Schultz. It's about the amount of bait that you've put in as well, because you've been sticking a lot of bait in. Haven't you? How much do you reckon you've gone through so far?
Well, I've been putting a lot of bait over 2 rods, and then the one I was fishing down the margin was just a handful for a bite. Like, you know. Over the other, well, I've done at least 2 buckets each day over them 2 rods. So what's that? About 12k a day.
Yeah, that's a lot, isn't it?
You know, well, I've done a bucket this morning at 5 o'clock, and I've done another bucket at lunchtime. And in all fairness, I've done another bucket this evening. Put the rods back in. So.
Yeah, you don't notice it when you're just trickling through it, but actually, one of the things that's really stood out for me, how you fished this, is the amount of bait that you've put in, and you've kept the fish
mate.
there.
Yeah.
Haven't you? And
well, they've turned.
But
they drift off, Rob, about mid-morning, and I know. First lightish, they are there, bang, bang. You'll get 2, 3, maybe 4 takes.
Yeah.
Then they're gone.
Yeah. But that's the great thing about pellet, isn't it? Because it's it's pretty inexpensive to put in the quantities. If it was boilie, you'd think, oh blimey.
I've probably done 25 kilos since I got here, if not a fraction more.
Yeah.
But I've had a lot of bites. I've been on the fish, Rob, to be fair. And like I said, we've had a nice mid-20 each. So that's what matters. You know, it's been great fun.
Well, fingers crossed for a good night's kip tonight.
Yeah, because I was up. Well, I lost a fish at 1:30 in the morning. You got up and it was like that.
Yeah.
Like a zombie running round. So
that was 2:30. That
it was 2:30. Was it? There you go. That's how much
2:30.
zombie fire I wasn't. What time it was.
Yeah. Well, I've moved now, and you're not going to keep me awake with your snoring tonight.
No, nor were you. I don't know what you was doing. It was like a shuffling noise all night.
Was it?
Not sure about that. I don't know what that was.
Lasted a long time,
anyway,
that, didn't it?
What happens here stays here, but no one else would know that. That's a secret between us.
Right.
But good nice kip. We're off sort of late morning tomorrow, hopefully.
Yeah.
A couple more fish maybe each. Get it
Well,
done,
I'm looking
mate.
forward to morning bite time, because consistently morning bite time has produced a few fish, isn't it?
Yeah.
What was it? You had 5 the first morning.
Altogether, it was about 9 or 10 fish.
Was it
throughout
really?
the whole morning.
Yeah. And then second morning, that was yesterday morning. That was another 5 odd
2 or
fish
3,
in the
mate.
morning.
I'm on 18 fish now, so
blimey.
but yeah.
Yeah, not bad at all. Well, I've got my first proper morning on them tomorrow,
Mate,
so hopefully that'll be official.
Good nice
too.
kip.
And,
Get up at 5, rack a couple of fish out, and off by about
disappear
11
before the rain.
Before the rain.
5 o'clock in the morning, and I've got to say the view from the new house is just absolutely stunning. Facing east, which is always a nice place for a carp angler to be on a spring morning. The sunrise this morning was just absolutely glorious, and also that bit just before the sun come up as well. A lot of the time that's why we go carp fishing, but of course the main reason is to catch carp, and I had a great night last night and a few runs. Got a couple of nice ones in the net already, and the big question at this time of day now is what do you do? Do you leave the rods out or do you re-chuck them? This time of year particularly, going through sort of late spring, early summer, is brilliant at first light. You know, Ian's had a couple of bites both yesterday and the day before. Today I'm now hoping for a couple as well because I'm on fish, so I have actually just recast, primarily because after I'd had a couple of fish last night I didn't put the rod back out, fancied a good night's sleep, and I'd rather catch them first thing in the morning than through the course of the night. It's a really, really good time this now, this sort of 5 o'clock through to 8, 9 o'clock. Loads and loads of lakes produce, so if you aren't absolutely on the money or you've re-chucked through the course of the night and you're thinking it's not quite right, then now is the time to chuck it out because normally there's fish around. So fingers crossed there's another bite or two left. We've got a few hours left. I've got little yellow hit and run wafters on a German rig at the moment because it's lovely and sandy just off the edge of that tree, and that's what's been doing the damage for me. So yeah, fingers crossed it's bite time. Right, here's one of the little devils that could not resist a yellow hit and run wafter. Little male, and they're starting to group up now, a lot of these little males. Just getting on the dance floor ready for you know what, as and when it warms up a little bit. And he's a proper feisty one, this one as well. Cracking fight here up at Norton Disney, I've got to say. And look at that, in the morning sunshine, after an epic battle in the early hours of the morning. That is a cracking carp. Good mid 20 pounder. Once again yellow, and all of my bites have come on yellow, either yellow zigs or alternatively yellow hit and runs. Did try the pinks, but pink wasn't playing the game on this trip. It's all been about the yellow and the pellets, and I think that's something to do with the fact that these guys have been fed in the past on maize and also on pellets as well, and it's always worthwhile just thinking about that. What do these fish normally eat? But just look at him, real good scrap. And again, it's all down to location here. If you're not on them, you ain't catching them. And this just went that little bit closer to that tree, the one that's just up the bank in between me and Ian. They've not been passing it, and has tried as hard as I could. I couldn't get a bite this side, but just going in front of it, that's what produced the goods. And what goods they are, you absolute superstar.
Morning, which it is at last. Might look a little bit tired this morning because 11:30, midnight and 3 a.m. The two rods fished down this end of the sidewall lifted up over the pellet, 3 mid doubles. So I've put them back out again. I've literally just redone them as well because there's always that chance. We've got a few hours left yet of one of the better ones in here, because there are a couple of 40 pounders and a few around the 30-35 pound mark, and I did see a couple of them down the bank yesterday. So a few hours yet, we'll hang on, see if we can't get one of them bigger ones. Right, for this trip, let's talk rigs. I have used this little one. Now, the only thing I've changed, I've alternated between pink hit and runs, yellow hit and runs, or a piece of plastic corn. They all lift the hook as so. I've tied them up in Ronnie style, and let me explain further. The venues we're on is a strict barbless rule. Now, in the world of fishing hooks, a straight point barbless hook, I find, and I do use them occasionally, not the straight points, but barbless on the day ticket venues I visit. A straight point is nowhere near as effective as staying in that fish as a V-curve or a wide gape. Okay, so for me, it's the V-curve. If you look at an eagle's claw, it's like that. So you want something that's constantly pulling into the fish when you're playing the fish. And the V-curve, I have to say, yes, I'm biased, but let me tell you the truth. They're amongst the sharpest hooks in the entire solar system. So again, a V-curve or one of our wide gapes, you've got to have that in-turn point when you're playing fish, when you're hooking fish on barbless venues. Well, there you have it, mate. Another day ticket travels over and done with.
Absolutely. It's been quite a good one as well, hasn't it? Loads and loads of action, mate. Just fished a blinder again. Absolutely brilliant.
You know, it's been on them and not been on them. We know that, Rob, for years you've known it. You were unlucky. You probably worked harder than me, actually, for less of a result, but that's what it's about.
But average size was actually not too bad for me. It didn't have as many fish, but actually
had double, 17, 18 pound up.
Yeah, a couple of decent 20s as well.
4 or 5 20s.
Yeah, no,
it's been brilliant. The pellet, I don't know how much pellet I've used. My van come here like that, and now it's going home like that.
You've used a lot more than me, I think. That's for sure. You know,
but it's
interesting seeing the behaviour patterns of the fish. Interesting seeing how they group up. And when they're on, they're really on, and you've just got to keep putting that bait in, haven't you?
That early morning spell for me, each morning was ballistic. It was ridiculous. But you knew also then they'd run out. You'd run out of bait. They'd gone.
Yeah, just got to get it in.
The bite stopped. Simple as that.
And I've seen it loads of times when I've been diving. We've looked at various different films as well. When they're on it, you almost can't put enough in. They just keep going. That's one of the great things with
spare
pellet,
rigs, spare bags, spare leads.
Just get it in.
Keep the speed up because you've got that 2-hour window. And they've mopped you and gone.
100%.
And in where I was, and then we went on the zigs to be fair, where I was, once they'd gone, they'd gone. Yeah. I knew it would be early morning next morning, mate.
That's it. And they're quite predictable the way they move. You know, they're in that snag, they've gone, then they're out in the open water. Yeah. And, there was some quite predictable bite times as well. Yep. But that early morning spell is always a good one. I was surprised we didn't catch more this morning, actually. You know, after first light, I thought there was going to be more chances. But there's been a wind direction change, there's been an air pressure change, and there's a lot more sun.
In the night, I had 3 in the night, mid doubles, and I knew at first light. We were also winding down, so you know, we'd had enough fish, but I knew at first light they'd gone, mate. They'd ate it all and gone.
That's it.
So
good session, great place, great future for northern anglers in particular. You know, well, for everybody, but for northern anglers, it's going to be amazing having somewhere like this on your doorstep as well. So, as far as I'm concerned, well worth a visit.
Really enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
See you next time.